hello everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today, even though I was going to talk more about the, another three, I already got notes for that, another 3 foods I put up and why. I decided to switch it up today because some comments that were made recently. And so I came up with these 3 silly reasons some people refuse to prepare. But the interesting thing about this is at least one of these reasons, there's people that do prepare that won't do certain things. I'm not going to say it's necessarily silly though, but for the ones that just refuse to prepare, it is silly. So number 1, worst case scenario. So the one thing about focusing on a worst case scenario is that for some people, it's the catalyst that gets them into preparedness. And then along the way, as they're, I would say that was a little bit of why we got more into preparedness, but some of it was just everyday life things that would happen that made us think, boy, it'd be a good idea for this, that, and the other thing. But for a lot of people that have not yet got on the preparedness bandwagon, they just look at worst case scenarios and think that, well, what's the point? So they make this really terrible assumption that the reason most people prepare or put up food storage, do any of that kind of stuff is for some massive worldwide event and, we're all going to die. And so then their point is, well, what is the point? If we're all going to die anyway, why bother? I'm not going to say that's necessarily silly, but it's silly in the fact that they can't see beyond that. And that, first of all, not every big, massive, worst case scenario events means everybody's going to die either. So why not be as prepared as possible? I'm never going to be the kind of person that says you can be absolutely 100% prepared for anything and everything. You can't, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen in your life, whether it be the minor things or the much bigger things or those things that fall right in the middle. A death in the family, especially of a spouse, that can really just totally turn over somebody's whole world. And how prepared are you to be able to deal with, the loss of the income or the physical support you might get? So there's a lot of things that people just don't even consider that happen to people every single day all around the world that hit us on a personal level. And I know that my longtime followers have heard me talk about this many times, but I feel like it can't be said enough because too many people just cannot see beyond that. Well, it's just worst case scenario, all going to die anyway. And that's just silly. It's silly in the sense that there is always something you can do, for one. And number 2, there's far more things that do hit everybody every day of different degrees that just being prepared can save you a lot of stress. So even something as simple as unexpected guests show up for dinner, having food storage is a lifesaver. Maybe not life-saving, but it's definitely a stress saver. When you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't have enough, because some people who just buy groceries from day to day or even week by week and don't plan to have at least enough stuff where they can make meals for a week, a month, 2 months, a year. And those things just really can save a lot of stress. But also in the event of your town turns into an island for whatever reason, and no, it doesn't have to be a worldwide worst case scenario. It can be as simple as a blizzard and you living in a small town that there's only 2 ways in. And that blizzard or that massive storm that washed out the road from either side means the trucks can't get in to restock your store. And the store shelves are going to be emptied within 24 hours or less, probably 2 or 3 hours. Tyler would probably know better. I can't remember what it is because I know if I remember correctly, Most of your grocery stores now only have enough stock to take care of your town or your part of town if you live in a bigger city for 3 days on just a normal day-to-day level. But when some kind of crisis happens, the shelves get wiped out within a few hours. So Tyler says reasons to prepare may not die right away, right? My witness may go farther if I'm bringing food rather than begging food. Exactly. Normal grocery store inventory is under 3 days. But do you know the standard time frame that the shelves would be cleared out in a crisis? Because I know that goes down to just at least a few hours. Because then everybody's freaking out. Everybody stampedes to the store, zombie walks or whatever it is that they do, and then buys up everything that they can put in their cart. All the water, all the toilet paper, all the bread, all the milk. Those are usually the things that will go first, and also depending on what kind of catastrophe it is. So disaster shopping, empty shelves in 8 hours. Okay. Thanks, Tyler. I remember years ago when it was a big, massive chemical spill. This was over on the east side of the United States. I cannot even remember what state it was in. There was some big chemical spill that contaminated all of the city's water. And so nobody could drink the water or use it for anything. So within hours, all the stores around were wiped out of all drinkable products, especially any bottled water. It was just, it was gone. That's the kind of reality many people face. It might not happen in the same place twice within 5, 10, 50 years, but it could happen down the road to somebody else. And it's like, what's wrong with being prepared for such an event? Or around here, it's going to more often, when it comes to city water, it's likely a main break that then means they got to shut off the water for however long it's going to take for them to fix that main break. That means you are without water. That happened to us a couple of times here. And I know at least one of those times we had our rainwater. So we were great. We had plenty of drinkable water, all filtered and ready to go, because I always keep 30 gallons of rainwater that's been filtered, ready to go. And then I cycle through it every single day, plus the over 2,000 gallons of rainwater that's already collected that I can filter or use for other things, watering the garden and such. Here's the part where it applies to people that already prepare, which was what made me think to put this list together. Well, what was it? It was a video that came out. Oh, it was me doing one of those AI, review videos, and basically, covering some of the points that they covered about bartering. Like, how, what was it? 12 hidden things that, preppers put up for barter, whatever it was called. And there was a couple people that said they're afraid to barter, or they won't barter, or whatever, because everybody will turn into zombies and you can't trust anyone and people will just kill you for what you have. Well, while I understand the fear, okay, I understand the fear of letting people know. I remember when we first really started getting into this, I was kind of afraid about letting too many people. Well, it was a struggle. I wanted people to know because I was hoping to kind of encourage people to get on board and start taking care of themselves and their families the same way. But on the other hand, yes, I was afraid about people knowing what we do, because this will be the first place they come to when, everything blows up or whatever, or that, that earthquake that's, overdue to hit us. Well, there's actually quite a few people around here, I'm finding more and more, that have either gotten on board with the same thing since we have or already were. There's a lot more like-minded people around here than I initially thought. So there's that. But also, that's assuming that your need for bartering is going to be a worst case scenario like that. Maybe it's not. So practicing bartering now, you can do it now and just just to use it to save money or to be able to put up more things for yourself. We've done bartering for years. Even when I was still teaching dance class, I was bartering with a parent where I was teaching her daughter's daughter dance in exchange for a few things. Every now and then she'd say, "Hey, I've got this," or "Hey, I'm going to town and I'm going to be grabbing some organic this, that, and the other thing. Would you like some?" And and we'd do stuff like that. She'd run to town. That's where my purple tomato seed came from initially, because I had her pick up a thing of organic heirloom tomatoes, and the purple one out of there was my favorite. So I saved the seeds, and a very minimum of 12 years ago. And I've been saving the seeds from those every year and growing them every year since. Then there was another lady that had like 3 of her daughters in dance. And at the time I had no chickens, and she had goats and chickens. And so we were doing exchange with the dance for her raw goat milk and the eggs. So yes, it's something we've been practicing for a long time, and it can save you time and money. But again, barter is about finding, what the value is to them and to you. It's all going to depend, and learning how to work that. So the reason I use the picture in the thumbnail I have of the herbs in the jars was because that year I put up a bunch of extra after I put up what I knew I needed for the year. Plus, I usually like to have enough of my herbs, whether they be medicinal or culinary. Well, culinary is both medicinal and culinary, but you know what I mean. Put up for at least a couple of years in case something happens to any of the herbs I grow. But that year I decided to put up a few extra jars of some of the things I had a lot still coming in case I wanted to use them to barter for something, like maybe some fresh caught fish, whether it be halibut or cod or salmon or steelhead or trout for that matter, or anything else. Same thing with the winemaking. That's one of the reasons why I make the wine, is so I can have something to barter with. But of course I have uses for it as well, marinating, making homemade extracts, and so much more. I think everybody should be bartering and not be afraid of it, because we shouldn't be looking at it as, well, I'm not going to do that because in a worst case scenario, they're going to kill me for my stuff. I understand the fear, but that's that kind of fear we shouldn't be living in. And it's much better to practice that, because here's the thing. People during the Depression bartered for stuff because it was what they could do, because money was tight, but they had skills, or they had things that they could grow that this person couldn't, or whatever the case may be. And so they bartered. Someone who could mend a dress or a pair of pants and do that in exchange for some vegetables that this person was growing. There's a lot of things that you can use bartering for right now. It does not have to be a worst case scenario. So I think people just need to start learning to practice and not be afraid of this stuff. Okay, so that was all excuse number 1. The next 2 will probably go much faster. Number 2 is, silly excuses that people use to not prepare, just to clarify, is it will never happen here. Right? It'll never happen here. First, they might say it'll never happen. And then you say, well, it happened over there. Oh, but it will never happen here. How are you so sure about that? Tornadoes don't happen here. And as far as I know, never have. But I wouldn't say it never will. However, we do have other natural disasters that can and have happened here. It's just like the earthquake they keep trying to scare us to death about, that will happen at some point, or the tsunamis, right? Because of where we live. It's finding that balance of not living in fear of everything, for crying out loud, but also not assuming that it can never happen to you, never happen in your area, or never happen at all. And it's a very poor excuse. And I think for a lot of people, they like to use excuses like that because they simply don't want to do it. I think it's either too much work, or it feels too daunting, and people don't know where to start. And so it's like, well, it's never going to happen here, so I'm not going to worry about it. Or we're all going to die anyway, so I'm not going to worry about it. I want to focus on the fun things, like trips to here and going down and getting wasting my money on a latte 3 to 4 times a day or going out to eat every day. I'd rather focus on that stuff, throwing my money away. I'm being a smart aleck because that's the way I am. Okay. Third reason. I've done a video just on this that some people didn't even bother to watch. They just got all bent out of shape because of the title. So I finally changed the title so people would actually watch it instead of assuming to know what it was about. And it was about, and this is one that comes from Christians, especially Christians that believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. Well, it doesn't matter. We're all going to be raptured out of here anyway. I don't have to prepare for anything. So in other words, the rapture is going to save us. So I don't have to prepare for the everyday events like power outages, the death of a loved one, a job loss, turning into an island because of a blizzard, et cetera, because the rapture is going to save me from any of those events. Hello? That's just silly. It doesn't matter if you believe pre-trib, no rapture, whatever it is you believe. Pre-trib, post-trib, mid-trib, never. It doesn't matter. There are real events that affect people all the time and have all throughout history. Did the rapture save the people on the Titanic? Did the rapture save all the people during all these different wars or during the Holocaust? No. Life happens, and you can't assume just because you're a believer that you're never going to have to face hardships. Those disciples, Jesus' disciples, faced all kinds of hardships. So it's a silly excuse. And I'm pretty sure anyone watching me right now knows better than that. But I always put that out there for 2 reasons. One, maybe this is just another point you can remember to bring up to your friends that want to use these excuses. And 2, maybe there'll be somebody who's been using these excuses for years that happens to stumble upon either this live show or the edited video I create from this. Life happens to everyone. There's good times, there's bad times. It's never always all the way up here and smooth sailing all through life. And so being prepared is not crazy. There are sects of people within preparedness that go into crazy mode, okay? You can take some things a little too far, and then you start in and up down a whole bunch of conspiracy theory rabbit trails. Yes, some conspiracy theories are facts, not just theories, but a lot of them are theories, and a lot of them are just plain lies and crazy talk, okay? I know this, all right? Before people start jumping down my throat and saying, bah, 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 because every time I bring that up, somebody gets mad. Believe me, I know this. I've been there, done that. I was one of those that started going deep down the conspiracy theory rabbit trail until I finally started seeing that not everything is a theory that's going to be proven true within 6 months. A lot of things are just lies, things taken out of context, or people trying to put out content to get your clicks so they can make money. And there's a lot of them still going on today. I have far more important things in my life to focus on than whether or not, I'm not even going to bring any of them up, whether or not this is true or that is true or whatever. Okay? And if I don't have any way of proving something one way or the other, or it's not something that I can actually do anything about to change that outcome on me, then I'm going to not worry about it. I'm going to put my time and attention into the positive things or the things I need to focus on to keep us doing what we're doing here, to keep taking care of my husband, my chickens, my home, my garden, my grandkids, and of course, number one, first and foremost, my relationship with my Heavenly Father and my Lord Jesus Christ. Top, most important, and then everything else falls under that. Those are far more positive things to focus on and not spend my life so stressed out and angry like I was back then when I found myself for that. It was about a year to 18-month period of time where I was constantly in a state of stress and scared and having nightmares all the time. That's not a good place to be. It is not a good place to be. And living like that is going to take you to an early grave. So anyway, I kind of got off on a different tangent there, but that's another one of those things that you really just can't say enough because a lot of this stuff goes both ways to the people that do prepare and the people that don't. There's a balance there. And you got to find that balance that suits you, your family, what you're doing with your life, what you're able to do. And, sometimes pocketbook, how much money you got to spend right away does matter. But this is where learning how to be frugal and bartering can really help. Anyway, I am going to go. So thank you, everyone, for coming in. Really appreciate you being here. Always enjoy our time together. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Take care and God bless.